Hey, Skol Nation. What's up, you purple-blooded warriors? Can you believe it? The Minnesota Vikings just turned US Bank Stadium into a slaughterhouse yesterday, absolutely demolishing the Cincinnati Bengals 48-10 in a game that had us all screaming from the rooftops. I'm talking franchise-shaking dominance. Folks, our boys improved to 7-0 at home against those striped losers and tied up first place in the NFC North at 2-1. After that gut-wrenching flop against the Falcons last week. This blowout was the medicine we needed. Stick with me on this Vikings news breakdown because we're diving deep into the heroes who made it happen. And trust me, by the end, you'll be pounding your chest like a Viking berserker. Who's ready to relive the glory? Picture this. The Bengals roll in cocky after starting 2-0, but without their golden boy Joe Burrow sidelined by that brutal toe surgery, they're limping like a one-legged longship. Meanwhile, our Vikings are fired up with Carson Wentz stepping in for the injured J.J. McCarthy, channeling that hometown hero energy he grew up with in Minnesota. The stadium's electric, purple flags waving like a storm about to break, and from the opening kickoff, you could feel it. This wasn't just a win, it was vengeance. Wentz slings a six-play, 64-yard touchdown drive right out the gate, capped by a beauty to T.J. Hawkinson, putting us up 7-0 and silencing those Bengal chants before they could even start. Skol. But hold up, Vikings faithful, what if I told you the real fireworks didn't come from the offense? We're talking about a defensive masterclass that turned the game into a track meet for our DBs. As we head into the top performers, get ready for some historic madness that'll have you yelling, "Who dat?" at your screen. Who's your early MVP pick? Drop it in the comments below. I want to hear from you purple diehards. Our first star of this epic rampage? None other than cornerback Isaiah Rodgers, the Philly import we snagged back in March to lock down Brian Flores' secondary opposite Byron Murphy Jr. Man. Did this guy deliver? Not just good, but straight-up legendary. In a performance that'll go down in NFL history books, Rodgers became the first player ever to snag 2 defensive touchdowns and force 2 fumbles. All in the first half. We're talking an 87-yard pick-six off Jake Browning that had the stadium erupting like Ragnarok, followed by a bone-crushing strip from tight end Noah Fant for a 66-yard house call. Flores saw the fire in this dude during training camp, and now, he's proving he's the shutdown corner we prayed for. Skol to Isaiah. You just etched your name in purple stone. Rodgers wasn't done there. He forced a third fumble, ripping the ball from Ja'Marr Chase's hands like it owed him money, setting up even more chaos for our D. Think about it. 3 of Cincy's 5 turnovers came from this one man's hustle, turning their offense into a bumbling mess without Burrow to bail him out. Last year with the Eagles, he was a part-timer flashing potential, but here, full-time beast mode. Flores' scheme thrives on guys like this aggressive, ball-hawking corners who treat every snap like a raid. If this keeps up, Rodgers isn't just a starter. He's Defensive Player of the Year material. Vikings Nation, isn't it wild how one signing can flip the script like that? And get this, that second pick-six? It came right after Rodgers punched the ball loose from Fant, who sadly entered concussion protocol after tough break. But hey, that's the price of tangling with our secondary. With stats like 2 INTTDs, 2 forced fumbles, and pure lockdown coverage holding Chase to zilch, Rodgers didn't just win the game, he owned the narrative. As we sail into the next wave of this Vikings news deep dive, imagine the Bengals staring down a 48-3 hole by halftime nightmare fuel. What's your take on Flores' genius here? Hit me in the comments. I read every one. Shifting gears to the ground and pound that had Bengal defenders seeing stars. Running back Jordan Mason, our offseason gem who we brought in to fix that atrocious short yardage nightmare from last year. Oh man, this dude was a freight train on Sunday. 116 yards on just 16 carries, bullying his way for 2 touchdowns like he was born in a longhouse. Remember how our run game choked in clutch spots last season? Blame the weak RB room and that shaky interior line. But we beefed up with 3 new starters up front. Will Fries, Ed Ingram reborn, and that monster Garrett Bradbury anchoring, and Mason? He's the hammer that makes it all sing. He juked, stiff-armed, and steamrolled for chunk gains, including a 12-yard TD plunge that sealed the 41-3 third-quarter lead. Pure poetry in purple. What I love most, Mason's vision and burst. He missed tackles left and right, turning 5-yard runs into 20-yard romps, all while keeping that north-south mentality that terrifies defenses. Last year in San Francisco, he was a backup spell, but here with Kevin O'Connell scheming him open lanes, he's unlocked. That second score? A gritty 8-yard burst where he dragged 2 Bengals into the end zone, 41-3 at that point, and Cincy was cooked. Our offense averaged over 5 yards a pop on the ground, a far cry from last season's sludge. Vikings fans, doesn't this feel like the balanced attack we've craved? Who's running behind Mason in your dream backfield? Teaser time. With Mason gashing for big yards and our line holding firm, shout out to those new interior beasts creating daylight. The Vikings racked up 180+ on the ground total, their best since the playoff push. But as we thunder toward the edge rushers next, picture Greenid and Turner turning the pocket into a blender. Bengals couldn't buy a clean snap. Loving this resurgence? Smash that like button if you're as hyped as I am. Enter edge Jonathan Greenid, the big money beast we shelled out for last offseason. And boy, is he justifying every dime as the undisputed alpha of our defense. Box score might not scream sexy with just 3 tackles, 2 TFLs, and a QB hit, but don't let that fool you. Greenid's everywhere. A phantom in the backfield disrupting like a Viking longboat crashing the shore. He flushed Browning into Andrew Van Ginkel's 2 sacks, collapsing pockets and forcing that shaky backup into rookie mistakes. No sacks for JGRE? Doesn't matter. His get-off speed and power had Cincy's O-line in panic mode from snap 1. Flores loves deploying him on stunts and twists, and it paid off huge. Bengals managed a pathetic 53 rushing yards because Greenid was plugging gaps like a wall of shields. Dig deeper. Greenid's run defense was elite, shedding blocks to stuff Chase Brown for losses and chasing plays from the backside with that relentless motor. Remember his 2024 breakout with 11 sacks? This is that same fire, but smarter. He's reading eyes now, anticipating dumps and screens before they develop. That one QB hit? It jarred a fumble loose, adding to our turnover party. With Van Ginkel cleaning up the sacks, 2 of them. It's clear Greenid's the disruptor who makes everyone better. Vikings Nation, why'd we ever doubt this guy? He's the heart of Flores havoc, and at 2-1, we're tied for the North lead because of it. Who's the next sack coming from, Greenid or someone else? Hanging on every snap? Good, because as we blitz into Dallas Turner's segment, think about how our edges are evolving. No flash yet from the rookie, but the foundation's rock solid. Bengals were down 48-3 before scoring late garbage. That's Greenid terror. What matchup do you want him in next week? Comment below. Let's build the hype. Now, let's talk edge Dallas Turner, our 2024 first-round firecracker who's quietly morphing into a force this season. No, not with splashy highlights yet, but with the gritty improvements that scream future star. At first glance, his stat line's modest. A couple tackles, some pressures, nothing that'll win highlight reels. But peel back the layers, and Turner's taken a massive leap in strength and awareness since his rookie year, holding his own against beefy O-linemen instead of getting washed out like before. He's pursuing ball carriers from the backside now, sniffing out cutbacks and maintaining gap integrity. Boring? Nah, that's the stuff that wins trenches wars. Flores has him rotating with Greenid, learning the twists, and it's paying off in subtle ways, like forcing Browning to step up into Van Ginkel's lanes. What blows me away? Turner's shed moves are sharper. He didn't get a sack, but he had 2 hurries that led to incompletions, and his run stops limited Cincy to under 4 yards per carry. Last year, he was raw talent chasing ghosts. Now, he's a technician using that Alabama-honed burst to dip and rip. At 22, with that frame packing on muscle, the flashy plays, sacks, forced fumbles are coming, mark my words. Pair him with Greenid, and our edge is a nightmare duo. Skol to the kid for grinding. Vikings news is buzzing about his growth. Fans, remember his draft night promise? It's unfolding. Who's got the hot take on his breakout game? Suspense building? Absolutely, with Turner solidifying the foundation, our D forced 5 turnovers total, including those Rodgers gems. As we pivot to the blindside protector who unlocked it all, imagine Wentz having eternity in the pocket. Bengals who? Drop your predictions for Turner's sack total this year in the comments. Wrapping up the offense's unsung hero. Left tackle Christian Darrisaw, the absolute cornerstone who's back and better than ever, turning our line into a fortress that let Wentz cook without a hitch. Simple as that. With Darrisaw anchoring, we held elite pass rusher Trey Hendrickson to 0 sacks, 0 QB hits, giving Carson all day to dissect that Bengal secondary. His return from whatever nagging issue sidelined him early? Game changer. Footwork like a dancer, hands like vices. He stonewalled Hendrickson on speed rushes and bull moves, buying extra seconds for those deep shots to Hawkinson and Addison. Darrisaw's not just protecting. He's the pulse of our offense, arguably the most vital purple people eater on the roster. Without him last week, chaos. With him, symphony. Stats back it. Pass pro grade in the 90s, 0 pressures allowed, and he even chipped in on those Mason runs, pulling to seal edges for big gains. O'Connell's play calling flows freer with this dude healthy. Quick outs, bootlegs, you name it. Remember his all-pro flashes as a rook? This is peak Darrisaw, mauling defenders and setting the tone. Vikings fans, isn't it poetic how one guy's return flips a 0-1 skid to tied for first? He's the reason our offense exploded for 48, pure dominance. And there you have it, Skol squad. From Rodgers' historic picks to Darrisaw's shutdown, these performers turned a must-win into a massacre. But wait, teaser for next. How does this propel us against Pittsburgh in Dublin? Stay tuned. As the dust settles on this 48-10 thrashing, worst loss in Bengals history. By the way, let's marinate on how our revamped run game, led by Mason's 116 yards, exposed Cincy's weaknesses without Burrow. They fumbled 5 times, lost 3, and couldn't muster more than 53 rush yards. Wentz, 18 of 25 for 220 and 2 TDs in his Vikings debut, hometown magic. Our D sacked Browning thrice, picked him off twice, and held him to 10 points. Tied for NFC North lead at 2-1, 7-0 home versus Bengals. This is the blueprint, folks. Flores aggression, O'Connell's balance. It's clicking. Who's feeling Super Bowl vibes yet? Tell me below. Zooming in on that run emphasis. We targeted it all offseason for a reason. Last year's short yardage woes were killing drives. New interior trio? Gold. Mason's elusiveness plus power? Chef's kiss. He averaged 7.25 yards per carry, forcing 12 misses. That's not luck, that's scheme and talent meshing. Bengals tried stacking the box, but nope. We gashed them for 185 total rushers. This balance opens play-action bombs, and with Darrisaw clean, Wentz thrived. Vikings news alert. Our YPP jumped to 6.8 overall. Pumped? I am. Hype meter maxed? Good, because recapping Greenid's invisible impact, those 2 TFLs? They stuffed third downs, forcing punts. His pursuit angles had Brown dancing backward. No sack, but he drew double teams, freeing Turner and Van Ginkel for glory. Big contract, worth every penny. He's our D's soul. As we edge toward Turner's quiet storm, remember, consistency breeds explosion. Turner's arc is the feel-good story, from getting bounced around as a rook to stacking strength like a gym rat on a mission. No washed-out plays. He set the edge on 80% of runs, per PFF. Awareness, night and day, he sniffed a screen for a TFL. Flashy sacks incoming. But this foundation? Priceless for a contender. Pair with Greenid and we're terrifying. Skol to the young blood. Darrisaw's return? The X Factor. Hendrickson, who had 5.5 sacks already, vanished. Darrisaw's 38 pass block snaps. Perfect. He even graded out 85+ in run blocking, key for Mason's scores. Most important Viking? Debate it, but he's top 3. Offense hummed at 38 points. That's Darrisaw magic. Tying it together, Rodgers' history-making, first ever 2 DTDs plus 2 FF, Mason's grind, Edge's disruption, Darrisaw's wall. This was total team ball. Bengals down 48-3 before a late TD. We even gave undrafted Max Brosmer mop-up time. 2-1, north atop, after Falcons stink. This redemption slaps. What a ride, right? From opening TD drive to fourth quarter parade, every phase shown. Turnovers galore, run game roaring, Pass Pro Elite, Vikings news is electric. Tied with Detroit and Green Bay at 2-1. That home dominance? Unbreakable. As we close this Vikings news extravaganza, let's soak in the stats. 485 total yards, 5 TOs forced, 38 points. Playoff preview? Flores called it controlled chaos. O'Connell, our identity. Mason's 2 TDs, Rodgers records. Greenid's menace, heroes all. Who's your player of the game? Comment now. Skol Nation, if this blowout has you fired up, and it should, smash that like button to spread the purple love. Drop your hot takes in the comments on who steps up next against the Steelers in Ireland. Subscribe for daily Vikings news updates so you never miss a raid, and share this with your fellow fans to build the army. We're 2-1, tied for first, and the North is ours. Let's keep the horn blowing. Hail the Vikings, Skol.